Hello and welcome. You have now downloaded your video, and so you'll now want to edit that video. You may want to cut out some of the parts that you didn't like when you recorded. You may want to cut out some of the introduction or the end. So to do that, you're going to use a video editing program. We are using Camtasia 8. It's the next to last version of Camtasia. You may be using Screencast-O-Matic, or you may be using a later version or even an earlier version of Camtasia. However, the basics are going to be the same. And so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to import the video that you are going to be working with into your canvas. What we're going to do now is we're going to set the video onto the timeline where we're going to do the editing. And in Camtasia, what we're going to do is to right-click and then click Add Timeline at Playhead. You're going to notice something very important inside of Camtasia, and this is something that you're going to want to do regardless of which software you're using. You're going to want to set the parameters for your editing, and in this case we're going to click this button, and you'll notice that Camtasia will give you alternatives. If possible, you want to use the alternatives that are going to be considered to be HD. We're going to use the highest resolution that we can possibly use, and that's going to be 1920 by 1080. At minimum, you want to try to use the standard 1280 by 720. What you'll also notice is that these are going to be widescreen dimensions. And again, this is something that you're going to want to try to achieve, as if you're going to have these videos placed on YouTube, this will fit those screens perfectly. So again, two parameters, HD, and then the highest resolution possible is how you want to edit. Now, the video you're looking at right now is a video recorded with Andrew Warner of Mixergy on GoToWebinar. So you'll see an example of both sides of the interview in your screen. However, the reason that we're showing you this is so that you can understand that there are parts to the video that can be cut out, and what we're going to do here is you'll notice that we're just going to take this part of the timeline and we're going to take it out. And maybe there's part of the introduction that you didn't like and you wanted to cut that part out. So again, we're choosing to blur this out for the sake of the video. But what we'd really like to show you is that we can take part of the video, we can cut that entire part out. Now again, that's how this works inside of Camtasia. It's going to work very similar inside of Screencast-O-Matic as well as later versions of Camtasia. So as you're watching the video, you'll discover that there are things that you didn't like the way they were said. You can go to those portions on the timeline. You can then mark those places, and then you can remove them and take them out. Now there's another important aspect to editing this video. And in Camtasia, we can go to the timeline, we can right-click that timeline, and then we can click Separate Video and Audio. When we do that, you'll notice that the video is appearing on one line, the audio is appearing on another line. Now, what we can do is we can take out this video portion, and basically all we have then is sound. We can then produce the video as an MP3 inside of Camtasia. All we need to do is to go to Produce and Share. We can then go and then produce an audio-only video. And we'd have an MP3 audio file where we started out with a video. Now we're going to take a few steps back so we can put this back on the timeline, and you'll see our video appear again. It's quite possible that you will have a branding element created for your video. And that means then that what you'll have is you'll have an introduction where your logo is played, and you may have some standard introductory comments before the video starts. And you can add those into the video every time that you produce one, and you'll need to do this almost the same way that you put the video on the timeline. So let's import another video into our screen, and we'll assume that this is a branding video. If you have a professional opening done, it'll typically be used on all of your videos. And so what you do is you'd bring that down to the timeline, and you'd add in that video at the very beginning of the timeline so that when you do produce it, you'll produce this portion first and it'll lead into the rest of your video interview. And of course, you can do the very same thing by having a professional closing created for you. You then have that portion added for you at the very end of your video so that when the video is produced, it will play your professional closing. And once you've completed your edits, what you can do is then go to the produce and share, and then you'll produce your video as an MP4 video. Now again, you want to produce this at as high a resolution as you possibly can, and that's typically going to be at the level at which you recorded and edited your video. So to recap, we're going to bring the video to the timeline. We're then going to cut out unwanted pieces of audio and video. We're then going to add on our professional opening and closing, and then we're going to reproduce the video. And once again, if we want to produce an audio only, we can separate the audio and video and produce video only. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.